and we are so thrilled to have you tonight.
Thank you. Welcome to our group. And of course we have Representative Frisch, and you are running for Senate 13. Is that correct?
The number will change.
Yes.
But it's basically the seat that is now 13, and the lines are going to change. We don't have any idea. Well, we have a reasonable idea of what they're going to look like.
Okay.
But they will change some depending on what the courts rule on and that sort of thing. But generally it will be South Pinellas County, probably minus South St. Petersburg, because the Voting Rights Act requires that we protect Arthenia Joyner's majority-minority seat. And so that will go to Tampa. This seat may have a matching overlap to Tampa, or it may just stay in Pinellas. That's still to be seen.
Okay. So do you want to give an overview of what you've done and just kind of...
Well, I'll introduce myself. I'm State Representative Jim Frisch. I am a retread because I'm a former House member. I served in the Florida House from '84 to '90, and then took a 16-year hiatus and was elected again in 2006. And just so you understand, I am the poster child for the phrase, "Life's not fair." In the 80s, I was a Republican in a Democrat-dominated House. I got nothing. And I mean nothing. If I wanted to pass a bill, I got a Democrat to sponsor it. Now, I'm the Republican whip in a Republican-dominated House and a Republican-dominated state government, and there's no money, so I get nothing. Life's not fair. If you can't have a sense of humor about this, you're in real trouble, I will tell you. In the 1980s, I represented Pinellas Park, Kenneth City, Lellman, Five Towns, Bardmore, a lot of the central part of south central Pinellas County. I now represent the western edge of the county from the top of Clearwater Beach all the way down to the Skyway, a lot of western Largo, western Seminole, west of Oakhurst Road, all the beaches all the way down. It's really tough duty representing Paradise. I've worn out 7 pairs of flip-flops. Actually, I have to tell you, I am truly honored and humbled to be able to do this. I have the good fortune, and my wife cringes when I say this, but I have the good fortune to be an addict. And public policy is my drug of choice. Fortunately, it's legal. The even better news is they pay me to do this. Not well, but they do pay me. And I serve really with the forbearance of my wife, who allows me to do this and puts up with a lot of evenings out doing things like this or talking to whatever group asks, because I try to go wherever I'm asked. One of my goals when I ran for office, I should talk a little bit about my motivation and background. First of all, I grew up in Winter Haven, small town, home of Cypress Gardens, which is soon to be Legoland. My stepfather, my dad died right after I was born. My mother married the guy she had been kind of casually dating in college when she had met my dad and fallen in love. And he came back calling after he'd heard Dad died, and mother was a widow with 4 kids, and they got married. We moved to Florida. They had a 5th, my younger brother, and he was a tax attorney who was an interesting guy. He had a tough time with kids who knew he wasn't their father, but he made sure every topic was open at the dinner table. We talked about everything, and frequently he would bait us into debate, and he would take some of the most outrageous positions. And I look back now and think, what incredibly good training that man gave us for life, because he taught us A, to recognize irrationality, and B, find a logical, methodical way to dismantle it. And that is one of the things that has motivated me in public life. In the 80s, I was a member of the minority. It was great fun, but we were in the minority. But we laid the groundwork, because every weekend during session, we'd travel out to the Panhandle and talk to the conservative Democrats and say, you know, you need to think about this, because you voted for Ronald Reagan, and then you voted for whoever that's representing you and is voting with the Miami liberals. And that groundwork, 10 years, 12 years later, turned into a sweep in the Panhandle, where we won almost every seat out there all of a sudden. And we took over the House of Representatives and the state Senate in 1996. The Senate in 94, the House in 96. And the reason we did it, by the way, on democratically drawn district lines. So reapportionment did not prevent us from taking over. We took over because we fielded better candidates who had a better philosophical base and had a better message. They had a message that reflected what the people really believed. They didn't have to vote Southern Democrat and vote Republican at the national level and Democrat locally. They were able to vote for a Republican candidate finally. And we took over. And we have managed the House, I think with a few exceptions, very, very well. This last term, or this last iteration in the House, I had finally gotten to the point where my wife said, you either need to put up or shut up. I'm tired of listening to it. Because, especially in Washington, we took over and we became what we replaced. We spent the money just like they did. And we did the same silly things they did. Not at first, but it took a few years, but we started doing the same things. In Florida, we were starting to do that. Now, I knew I wasn't going to run for Congress, but I could run for the state legislature, and that's why I got back involved, because we had become what we replaced. And I was going to put a stop to that. And we have seen a complete philosophical movement to the right in the Florida House of Representatives. We are now a very conservative body. And we had probably the most productive year I have ever seen out of a legislature this last year, this last 2011 session. We passed more substantial reform in Florida this one session than I think has been passed in any 3 sessions in the last 30 years. It was remarkable. And since Robin just left, I'll tell you, education reform was at the top of the heap. And she's right. The single most important thing we can do to promote the education of our children is to make sure that the teacher that's in the front of the classroom is capable and prepared. A good teacher is the single most important thing in the education of a child outside the home. We can't control the home. We can't control the neighborhood. We can't control the kids they run with. But we can control who that teacher is and how good they are. And if we put outstanding teachers in front of the classroom and evaluate them on their results, we're going to have good results out of our education system, and we're starting to see it. We've gone from 38th to 5th in reading and math in the national rankings in just the last 12 years. The reforms we've been putting in ever since Jeb Bush really took it on, and especially this last year when we said there isn't going to be tenure anymore, you're going to be evaluated not subjectively by your principal, who you were at his mercy, so you had to keep him happy, but you're going to get evaluated at least 50% on the progress that each child makes during the year you have them. You start measuring them when they come in, and you measure them when they go out. And if you take a Title I school with an underprivileged class that is struggling and 2 or 3 years behind, and you get them and you move them up a year and a half, you're going to get a bonus because you're a good teacher and you've done what we want you to do. If you move them up 3/4 of a year because you've had them a full year, then you need help. We're going to try and remediate it and train you. But if you don't take the training, if it doesn't take, we're going to recommend very strongly that you find something else to do for a living. That type of reform is the sort of thing I'm very, very proud of that we passed this year. And everything from health care to education to public safety. We did everything except massive tax reform, which will take a constitutional amendment. I've been elected since 2006. In 2006, when I ran, when I first announced I was the only candidate, another realtor out on the beach filed, and then I happened to stop by Senator Jones' office, and he said, "I've got bad news for you. I'm moving my son out to the district. I'm going to raise him a couple $100,000, and I think he'll make a good representative." And I said, "Well, Dennis, you're an old friend, and we'll be friends when this is over, because I'm running not because of who else is in the race, but because I'd like to serve." He outspent me 5-1 in his old House seat, and I beat him by 20 points. Yes. Because nothing beats talking to the voters. And as Jeff can tell you, I knocked on a lot of doors.
You did.
Some more than once.
And I put out a lot of signs.
Yes, you did, and I appreciate it.
I sent you photographs and all that.
And I got to tell you, it was one of my best precincts, too. This guy delivered. It's that voter contact, that person-to-person contact, that is what our government's all about. We the people. If we don't participate, it doesn't work. We have a participatory democracy. If we don't participate, it doesn't work. So first of all, thank you for being here. I've tried to develop an activist district too, and I'm proud to say we have one of the highest voter turnouts. My wife says you better be careful, they're liable to throw you out on your butt. But I really think that is that important, fundamentally, to our governmental system to get people back involved. When we passed Save Our Homes, we divorced the average citizen from their local government, because nobody can get hurt by 3% a year increase in your property taxes. So nobody bothered showing up at the school board, city council, or the county commission, or all the other taxing districts you've got on your tax bill. Nobody goes, right? And the reason is 3% can't hurt you. So the only people that show up in front of the county commission are people that say, I want money. That's all they hear. That is all they hear all day, every day, until 300 people all of a sudden show up and say, what are you doing? And they say, okay, we'll cut some taxes. Well, they'll cut a few percent, maybe, but not much. They cut 50 million out when 300 people showed up. The 50 million in the county budget, I'm sorry to say it's more than I'm going to make this year, but it's still a drop in the bucket. They need to hear that every single budget hearing they have. When Leadership St. Pete comes to Tallahassee, I say, okay, I want to see the hands of everybody that's been to a county commission or a city commission budget hearing. And I get about 4 hands out of 60 to raise. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
That's
I
all right.
apologize.
No.
It's okay. Try not to go.
It is really, I love to talk about this. I am a terrible bore at family reunions and other things because I can't resist talking about this stuff.
Okay.
So, but anyway,
All right.
Barbie.
All right. Question number 1. Sharia law. Will you support?
You've got to be kidding me. You're even going to ask that?
Yeah. Will you support the rejection of Sharia law in Florida and the U.S. in determining legal outcomes in court or American society? And please explain your view.
I am the child of college professors. My mother told me if she ever found a copy of Cliff's Notes in my room, I'd pay for my own college. So I actually read the books. I understand where our system of jurisprudence comes from, and I understand that it's based on a constitution that works if we work. We don't need Sharia law because it has fundamental flaws. It refuses to acknowledge human nature of any sort, and it comes from an arbitrary basis that I categorically reject.
Good.
Was I clear enough?
Yeah, that's great. State climate regulations.
I'm in favor of air conditioning.
Yeah. Many regulations.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Many regulations were added during the Chris administration that have added tremendous costs and created long delays in new building projects and all manner of maintenance, such as found in the PinellsCounty.org website, which we went to and just pulled one page off of the county commission, off of the Pinellas County website,